I may or may not be lectured by our next guest. He is Congressman Tim Burchett. He joins us today on the Murphy Show to talk about, I don't know, Signal amongst other things. I think there are probably more important things to talk about, but we're always pleased to be joined with Congressman, and this time by Zoom, which is pretty cool. Hey, Congressman, how are you?
Well, as you can tell, the camera makes love to me, as you said many times to me off the air. And I have to agree with you.
You are you're a beautiful man, but as I've told you many, many times, you look much better in a beard. Much better in a beard. Yeah. Full beard.
Yeah, you and my wife. So that's all right.
How's it going?
It's going all right. Just another day in paradise. We haven't codified anything that the president has passed out of Doge. So to me, that shows the sewer is still in effect. We haven't passed my bill to stop the Taliban from getting $40 million a week. I've been told it will possibly be up next week. I'm leaking that to you all first.
Mm-hmm.
I have another bill dealing with making it illegal to sell genetic material or your identification. People will. You swab the inside of your mouth and you send it off to this company and you find out, your family was kings or somewhere. You never find out that your family was a horse thief or anything. It's always, and so the Chinese are buying that information and oddly enough, they're creating a genome, which possibly they could do something like, and I was told that they were doing this, that creating a genome to produce a bug or something that could possibly stop American women of childbearing age from having children. This is the China that we're dealing with, and this is the Washington that won't pass that legislation. I can't even get a dadgum hearing, and we just saw yesterday where a group went bankrupt that had all that, and they're going to sell all that material information out on the open market. So we've got to, I hope America starts cranking it up and putting the pressure on us to do our jobs.
So, I saw and I don't know if this organization has any affiliation with the Red Chinese, but the 23andMe group, a lot of people are concerned about that group going under because what happens to all of that genetic-based information that group had obtained over the years?
Yeah, it goes to the Chinese communists.
Right.
We think every time. So.
They would be the highest bidder, right, Tim?
Oh, absolutely. Or they just steal it. People got to be careful about this stuff. I think you better find out where your material is going, where this information is going. There are very nefarious forces in this world that are out to get us and do not like the way America operates and would like to put us under.
Congressman Burchett, you mentioned those that aren't moving forward with codifying some of the executive actions by Donald Trump. It concerns me greatly that we've not seen more movement. Obviously, Donald Trump has the authority as the head of the executive branch to do many of these things, but God forbid, should a Democrat get back in the White House anytime soon, they have every opportunity to reverse it unless the Congress acts. Why is there not more urgency on the part of the Congress? We hold both houses. Talk to me.
Because this town is absolutely, positively corrupt. Kaz Walker was an old grocer in East Tennessee, and he had a saying that you're crooked as a dog's leg, and that's Washington, D.C. Ultimately, y'all need to start asking yourself who the hell you're electing in this town, and we better start. We're not going to get another chance at this thing. I told the president this. We had a lengthy conversation. He called me a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you got about 100, 150 days, Mr. President. This bunch is gutless, and they will cut your throat. And some of the same people are in power behind the scenes that were in power before. And and I'll tell you one other thing, better watch out for on Doge. They're going to try to pass a big, beautiful Doge bill with all that in it. And guess what? They won't get it passed. And so I would say, let's pass each one of them individually. Just have a Doge day, and we elect them and make these people vote it up or down. And then if they don't, hold them accountable at election time. Because I'm sure there's plenty of people in the primaries that could run against them or the general election.
Well, I know you didn't want, you had no there was no love in your heart when you cast a vote for that CR. But we held our nose once again, and the president asked us to. And I did it, and you did it, and you did it as a congressman. I did it as a talk radio host. Said, okay, guys,
sure,
one last time, but now we expect some movement. We expect some real cuts to come out of this administration. Will Congress go along with it, Congressman?
I hope so. We better hold them accountable, though, because it's just, it's more of the same. It is more of the same, just a different. Because we're in power. We're in power now. Well, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to invest our money? Are we going to put it in the ground? Or are we going to go out there and waste it?
Are you hearing? I know that you were on a podcast recently, and you made the comment that there seems to be some concern in Washington, D.C. about where DOJ goes and where they don't go in terms of what they uncover with regard to corruption. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, we had a meeting with Mr. Musk, Elon, or whatever. There's just 6 or 7 of us in there, and we had a great conversation. He and I did. I said, I'd like to know where this money is going. And he basically said there's a paper trail, and I'm paraphrasing, put it in Tim Burchett terms, but there's a paper trail, and he thinks it was coming right back to Washington. And I think it's going into the pockets of politicians. Before we had that Sam Bankman-Fried guy. You remember him?
I do.
He got popped on that Ponzi scheme dealing with whatever, not Bitcoin, but one of them. I don't know. But anyway, and so he had millions and millions of dollars that he was putting back into campaigns. And most of them were Democrats. There was the former speaker was involved in some of it, and there were some others that were a Republican speaker that were involved in it. And so that was about as close as you got. It went into the campaigns. And Joe Biden, I think, got $10 million in his campaigns and stuff. But anyway, that was a pretty close example. But they think that some of this is just going straight back to them. It's paying family members through these NGOs. It could even go back to members of Congress. I don't know. But I'll be happy when I see somebody walk out of here in handcuffs, going not to jail, but to prison. I look forward to that.
I saw a statistic the other day that somewhere in the neighborhood of a little less than 2% of the American population households are millionaires, but a little less than 2%. And in Congress, that percentage is over 50. And I just and I understand that the percentage is going to be higher. I mean, I understand that more affluent people have a better ability to run for Congress. So sure, those are going to be elevated, but over 50%, it just feels a little odd to me, Tim.
For the record, I'm not one of them. And that's another bill I have is, that you can't do individual stock trades. And that just shows the crooked nature. Get on X, and there's a website, Unusual Whales, and it lists, I think, the top 50 or 100. And everybody wants to rail on Pelosi. And, yeah, she's uncannily picked stocks, and I think we all understand what that's about. But she's not even in the top 10. I mean, she is there are so many other members that their percentages are so much. I mean, they're clairvoyant. They do hundreds of stock trades a year, hundreds. And I'm just trying to sell my baseball card and comic book collection to pay off my mortgage. I don't know where the rest of these guys are coming from. My banker told me the other day, he said, I think you're one of the most honest members of Congress, but I know you're one of the brokest. So I guess I wear that as a red badge of courage. I'm not sure, but
it's about.
That's why nobody trusts us. That's why nobody trusts us when Congress members get up and say that there's no insider trading. That's just a lie. We're allowed to do it. You all aren't. If we had the information, if you all had the information we did, and you made money, you would go to prison.
And they do it all the time, and they won't stop because there are too many with R's behind their names, and a lot of them with D's behind their name that have gotten too rich.
The number one on the list on the Unusual Whales is a Republican. Nice guy, but still, I I just think they ought to do like I do. My buddy Tommy Seiler down there in Knoxville, he's got it was a $13,000 portfolio. I took a hit. I think I'm at $11,000 right now, but it's in a mutual fund. That's all I think that's legit. It's so big. It's hard to kind of skewer one of those. I guess if you're a financial genius, you could figure that out. But the reality is when you see a member of Congress year after year making 50, 100% return, that's just too much, brother. It's just way too much.
All right. Before I ask you about running for governor, which I'm going to ask you about because I always do, is this signal deal? I mean, is it something that gives you heartburn? I mean, obviously it was a mistake. It's a little bit embarrassing. The president has spoken on it. Does it give you heartburn at all?
I have two thoughts on it. Either it was a mistake or somebody did it to get rid of a member of the cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Waltz is the one everybody keeps pointing at. He's a Green Beret. He and I came to Congress together, and he doesn't speak out a lot. He didn't in Congress. He didn't brag about his service. I looked into his service. He was in some of the roughest battles that we've had in the last few years, and he volunteered for that service. I just remember one time he had a picture, and I asked him about it, and he said, funny thing, that was like Mother's Day, and he said that he sent his mom a message because he wasn't sure if he was going to get to come home. And that's all he said. And he's not one of these braggers. He doesn't, he's not out screaming at the top of his lungs. But in the back of my mind, you got to think somebody like that is not who they want close to the president. And the enemy doesn't. And there's always an enemy somewhere. And nothing happens by accident much in Washington. Now, this could have happened by accident. This could have very well been an accident. But if it is, somebody needs to be thumped for it. I know a Democrat in the Senate's called for Pete Hegseth and Waltz and somebody in Tulsi Gabbard, I think, to lose their jobs.
And Ratcliffe, too. Yeah, all of them. They want all of them.
Too. And Ratcliffe's a pretty square dude, too. I've known him for quite some time. But I just think that's all a bunch of hooey. There'll be another, as I used to say when I was mayor of Knox County, there's going to be another wreck on the interstate tomorrow. Not that I wanted there to be a wreck, but some other news issue will come up and they'll move on. Jasmine Crockett will get into it with somebody or something will happen and the news focus will change.
Well, they're not going to focus on her. I mean, what about that? I mean, look, I'm a straight shooter and I've been known to tell an off-color joke, but Governor Hot Wheels, I mean, good gracious.
That's pitiful.
I mean,
the Democrats don't know what to do. They are a rudderless ship right now. If you saw when the president, it wasn't really technically a State of the Union, but whatever you want to call it. I mean, there were really three groups there. One group got up and walked out. One group disrupted, and one group just sat there and didn't do anything, motionless. It was a completely rudderless ship. Under Pelosi, all the women wore white, and the men, they knew when to clap and when not to. And they just don't have that leadership anymore. And I think there'll be leadership changes, and there's a lot of feuds. But I say we just let them keep, when your enemy's digging themselves into a hole, just let them keep digging, brother. Just shut up. That's true. Let them run. Let them run.
Look,
don't make a martyr out of any of them.
So in the couple of minutes that we have left, every time we talk about the possibilities moving forward in 2026, and obviously Congressman John Rose, your colleague in the House of Representatives, your colleague here in the state of Tennessee, has now announced that he's running for governor. Marsha Blackburn is yet to announce officially, but, every indication is she's in. But every time I talk about it, Tim, people bring your name up. They want to know if Congressman Tim Burchett is at least considering the possibility. Are you considering the possibility, or are you focused on the House?
Well, if Marsha were to win and there was an opening in the Senate, I would strongly hopefully I'd be in consideration for that. And I don't have anything to judge that on. I saw, there's this polling that goes on all the time, and somebody leaked some of it to me, and it was very strong in my favor. I think I could make a serious run for governor right now, and I'm honored every time somebody says that. But, I pray about it. I'm a Christian. I'm not a very good one, obviously because of my chosen profession. But I honestly don't think God's leading me in the direction of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
That could change. I mean, but he could get me to run for governor.
I think you'd
make my butt kicked.
Let me tell you, I think you'd make a heck of a U.S. Senator, Tim.
Well, I don't know about that. You're very kind. I thought I'd make a great country music star, but I can't sing, so that didn't work out.
I thought I'd make a good guitar player, and I bought a guitar, and then disabused me in that notion. Well, so I mean, I only ask so many times because so many folks bring your name up, and that's how much
bring
folks
it up. You're my friend, Matt. You're my buddy. You can always ask, and I'm an open book. I do my videos on X at Tim Burchett, and people used to make fun of me, all the members up here, and now I've got over 250,000 followers, and people talk about it all the time, and Trump likes them, and now everybody's doing the videos. So I tell people my thought process, and maybe that's part of my weakness but I think people like the fact that at least I'm honest with them about where things are and where I think they're going.
Did you ask Elon when you met Elon if he had any cash on him?
No, it's crazy. I was, you got 30 seconds. Can I tell you my story with him?
Yes, I'll make 30 seconds for you, Tim. Cool.
All right. Well, I actually, after we all talked about it, I have a deep desire for alternative housing. I know that sounds weird. And there's a process called rammed earth building. You take red clay, which we have plenty of in Tennessee. You mix it with about 5 to 10% cement, and you put it under super pressure, and it creates a block. And it's actually that parts of the Great Wall of China, which was built about the time of Christ, are still around that were built with this process. And you can get the soil off your site. It's energy conservation. It'll stop a bullet. And they're digging those tunnels, and they're looking. And I've talked to them about that, and they're looking at that process. So I was actually trying to get him to come to Tennessee and build one of those houses. I thought, we could house poor people. It would look cool. I bet the hipsters would want them, and they can make them for about a nickel a brick.
Love it.
Of course, the brick manufacturers hate it, but they could get in the business. And, you wouldn't have to ship it in. You wouldn't have to burn them. You wouldn't have to be relying on any fuel we get overseas to make them, basically. And but anyway, I talked to him a little bit about that, and it turned out kind of God's will, I guess. The guy that was with him was his tunneling guy, and was the guy that was looking at that idea. So I'm trying to get him to do it in East Tennessee or Tennessee somewhere, just to build a demonstrator house. And let's put some people in houses, and let's let people own their own house instead of renting. And let's produce capitalism. I'm a big fan of capitalism.
Hey, bring one over to the Metro Nashville area, and I'll be the first buyer, Tim. I'm in. I'm looking for a place anyway.
I built a little structure in my front yard out of them just because I'm a weird guy. Not too many 60-year-old guys are making mud bricks, but I guess I am. But anyway, we had a great conversation, and I asked him why he's even doing this. And he said to me, he looked at me, I said, look, I'm a Christian. I said, I know I'm in this racket. And he said, I just saw the other side was getting too crooked. And I thought, well, that's an honest thing. He said, I got kids, obviously. I got a bunch of them. Yeah. And he said, and I want them to grow up in a good place. And I thought, well, that's a freaking honest answer.
Love it. Love it. Tim, thank you so much. We're out of time. I hate it, but we'll do it again very soon. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, brother. See ya.